Good morning. Good morning, guys. I hope you guys are all doing good. I'm just waiting for a few people to jump on and we can have a conversation. I promised you guys that Saturday mornings are now going to be days when we talk about our health. And true to word, here we are to do exactly what I promised that we will do. I don't have a lot of time this morning, unfortunately, so let's just get cracking. So, good morning, everyone. Who's ready to have a chat? Continue our conversation from last week. I'll just sit here tight and wait for one or two or three people to jump on. And please share the video when you jump on. You know how we do it, you know how we roll. Let's get it done and let's have this conversation. Um, Good morning. Somebody let me know that you guys can hear me. I would really appreciate that. We'll have a little bit of a recap about what we talked about last week and proceed. So let's see. Let's see if I can at least get 20 people on this live video. With your help, I will get talking. Share the video. Good morning, Asibi Al Hassan. I hope you're doing well, darling. Please, please, please share the video. I beg of you. It's the only thing that you can do to help me. Please, I beg of thee. 6. Good morning. Sister Nanama, how are you doing, darling? Let's see if there's a few more people here. Share this video. I beg of you. And then let's proceed. Another 2 minutes and I will start talking. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Wake up if you're sleeping. If you've had a nap, wake up. We ought to have this conversation this morning before I have to go. Miss Annan, how are you, darling? I hope you're doing good. Let's see if I've got a few more people on here. 6 is not good enough. Jeez. Where is everyone this morning? Good morning. Okay. I'm going to start talking because I ain't got time. Good morning, guys. And I hope you guys are all doing good. Last week, thank you, honey. Last week, we were talking about living with polycystic ovaries. Now, this is a topic that I know well because I happen to be somebody who suffers with it. And I live inside my own body. And this thing has been with me for a good 30 years of my life. So I think I've earned the right to talk about this thing. It's taken over a good 3/4 of my life. And so living in my own self and on a practical, from a practical perspective, I feel like I've earned the right to discuss this very topic. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be a medic. I'm not, right? So if there are any medics listening to me here, I'm not a medic. I'm not sitting here suddenly pretending that I'm some doctor or some expert, but I know what this does to me. And that's what I'm talking about this morning. I've read up about it, researched it till I'm blue in my face, right? So from that perspective, I can explain this issue to the best of my knowledge. It's something that I'm very passionate about. I live with it. It's part of my life. And I'm just talking about different aspects of this with you guys. So I just needed to lay the foundation and the ground rules here. Okay? So last week I was on a walk. And if you haven't watched that video, please go back and watch that video. And on my walk, I was talking about health-related issues and picked on polycystic ovaries, especially to talk about. We defined what polycystic ovaries was as caused by hormonal imbalance and affecting predominantly the reproductive system, but that also leads to affecting other things and other systems inside of our body. I also said that people who suffer with PCOS tend to have issues with utilizing the insulin that they provide or produce inside their pancreas. And that is what leads to all these complications. I saw a few questions about whether PCOS could be the cause of people having facial hairs, right? That was a question that I remember somebody asking. And the answer to that is that the only sure way to really know whether you have PCOS or not is to go and get medically examined. You might have some of the symptoms that I'm talking about, but it could also be something completely different. But the sure way to know about this is to go and get checked. Guys, it's nothing strange. It's nothing complicated. It's nothing painful. They just need to do an ultrasound of your inside to see what your ovaries look like, to see what the whole, fertility system, reproductive system looks like for you. And also there are blood tests that are done, FSH, LH, and those kind of things, to figure out whether indeed you have polycystic ovaries or not. That is the way to know. And so I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yes, if you've got facial hairs, then that's what it is. It could be, right? That is your answer. If you really, truly want to know, go and report that and get checked. And that is where I'd leave that one. And so we were talking about some of the symptoms, some of the things that you start to feel in your body. I started telling you guys a story. And I've had a lot of backlash from always talking about myself. But I feel like people don't really understand why I do that. I don't like talking about things that I don't really know, that are fact about things, right? If I don't know your story full well, if you don't come and tell me your story full well, I don't usually feel like I have the right to talk about something that I don't know well. But one thing I do know well is my own self. I have lived it, right? Everything that I'm telling you about, I have actually gone through it and I've lived it. So I know what I'm saying. And that is the perspective that I'm coming from, right? My sister Nanama is a health person. She's a medic, right? And she's saying that other conditions can mimic PCOS, right? The only thing, like I said, the only sure way to know whether you have this is to go and get tested. That's what happened to me after 8 or so years of living with something called irregular bleeding, to fully now have an understanding. And I believe you me, in June of 2020, I felt like I had been liberated, because now there's not this big question mark about my life anymore. At least I have an understanding as to exactly what it is that is going on. I didn't have all the answers. I didn't understand the whys, but at least I knew that this was what I was suffering from. And that helped me to rationalize everything that was happening in my life to a certain point. Because up till then, irregular bleeding, well, what is that and why, right? And so we talked about some of the symptoms that people who have PCOS like me suffer. To me, and for what I've seen so far, there's a lot of varying degrees and strains to which people are affected by this PCOS thing, this polycystic ovarian syndrome thing. Some people's symptoms are milder. Some people just have certain symptoms and not the whole full wagon. Some people don't, right? For some people, it's just facial hairs. For other people, it's just they don't have regular periods, right? For some people, they just don't really know when they're having their periods. And then some people just have the whole full back package of everything, right? Different people behave or react differently to this thing. I'm going to stop here and acknowledge a couple people that are here. Sister Lisa, Anthea, good morning. How are you doing, sweetie? Asibi, I know you're here. Elizabeth, my big sister Aisha is here. God bless you for being here. I love you. Okay? And for everybody else, I hope I haven't missed anyone. Juliana, Aku, Anan, all of you, I salute you all. Good morning. Right? So those are some of the things that we spoke about. I spoke at length about bleeding, having accidents, and all of that. If you haven't watched that video, I just recorded it just a week ago today. Today is the 16th, so the 9th of April. Go back and watch that video and understand where we got to last time. Today, the thing that I want to really kind of focus on is the emotional and mental implications or impacts of this thing, because it's something that I have really suffered and still suffering. I don't think that I have fully dealt with it. I feel like I have kind of come to terms in a certain way. At least I have some coping skills, but I'm not fully there yet, right? And in order for me to talk about that, I want to also talk about some of the implications of the symptoms that you have and the reasons why some people then get to that place of not being to handle the mental aspects of this, right? So come the age of almost 20, I was 19. I finally had a diagnosis. I have PCOS. Okay. They have to control it with hormonal pills, basically the same contraceptive tablets that they give to women that are trying to space or plan their families. They had to give me that in order to give me some kind of a rhythm, so I knew what was going to happen when, so that I can have a life, right? And it made sense at the time because I was 19 years of age. I wanted to go back to school, tertiary school, and I didn't have time to be sick because it was a very rigorous, busy program and I didn't have time. So I agreed to take this medication so that I had a life. At least I knew when I was going to be bleeding. I knew how long it was going to last for, and I could plan my life around that. And so I was prescribed these pills that I can't even remember the name, but there are lots of different ones. And I took them for 21 days. And then I had a 7-day window where I had my period. And once those 7 days went, it was time to start the next pack of taking the medication. And so that's how I managed to get through 4 years of civil engineering back in Ghana. Now, I won't talk about the side effects of the medications that I took. Yeah, but anyway, that's what it is. So we go ahead from then, and I got to the stage where it felt like now I have a life. At least I have a routine. I know when what is happening. Some of the side effects that I was experiencing, and the one that was predominant, was migraines all the time. And the other thing was I couldn't feel the tips of my fingers. And when I tried to do anything that involves, for a long period of time, putting my hands in water, I struggled so much. Washing plates, washing my clothes, hand washing my clothes. For those of you who live in Ghana and in West Africa specifically, pounding fufu, like somebody will be doing the pounding and I'm trying to mix things up in the pounding bowl. I couldn't do any of those things that I could do without even thinking about it. I could not do them with my hands just felt like it was about to burst and blood was going to gush out of it. It felt that heavy. And so I couldn't do a lot of things. I could barely take a shower and bathe myself, but that's about it. Anything that involves washing 3, 4, 5, 10 plates, and it's like, no, I'm feeling that sensation again, and I have to stop. It was hard, but it was the only way I was going to be able to do what I've decided to do, which was to study and get this civil engineering thing done. Now, I was done, and by the time it was finished, now after 4 years, this medication was not working anymore. So I'd be on the thing and I'll still be bleeding in between. And it's like, why am I even suffering all these side effects, right? If I'm still going to be bleeding anyway, what's the point? And so I went back to England by this time. I decided, look, I can't be doing this back and forth thing. It cost me so much money. Might as well just go back. So I moved, went from Ghana back to England, where I'd been as a kid anyway, and went to live and thought that, okay, now let me move to England so they can actually take care of me and help me figure out where my life is going to go. So I moved to England as a young 23-year-old, full of life. You know, I had all these dreams about, oh, I'm going to meet somebody and I'm going to be married and I'm going to just have a couple kids. I didn't want too many, just two. Preferably a guy and a girl, and then I'm done. And then I can carry on with my life, be a mom, a wife, whatever. And that was what I had in my mind. So I went back to England, and then they, oh, if this is not going to work, we can put you on something else. You can take this, and I'll take this, take the other, and the dog. And I was still having symptoms. Oh, we can fit you in with this device, and it can help you and all of that. For me personally, I have a big phobia for having some foreign body put inside of me. And so I was never one for that. I'd seen people and heard my mom and her friends talk about IUDs and what it did to them and all of that. So I just simply wasn't interested in that. So I was like, no, don't want nothing. I'll take any pill, I'll do anything, but that, no. Then I got myself a job, my first proper job in England. I had worked in factories, and we're not here to talk about my story, but yeah, let's focus on this here. So I got my first proper job doing civil engineering. I was so excited. I'd moved to a place called Stratford-on-Avon. It's in Warwickshire. For those of you who live in England, you probably understand. A beautiful place. That's where Shakespeare was born. It's got a lot of character and history to it. Loved it. But I couldn't keep a job down. I was always sick. I was always bleeding. And when I did have a period, it was so heavy. I was in Warwick Hospital. I was in here hospital. Like, it was like a repeat of my life all over again. And that depressed me a lot, right? Now, here I am, so excited. I'm going to meet someone and I'm going to be married and all of that. Didn't look like I could keep a man for any longer, any length of time neither. Because they come along, they're looking at the outward thing and they're so excited. And then once they get close and they figure out what the other stuff are, they're gone. So what kind of life is this? What is this? What's my whole existence about? If I can't keep a job down, I can't have a life, and I can't even share my life with somebody else, then what is the point, right? So that was me. And it started affecting me mentally. I didn't find that there was many people at that time that I knew that were going through the same thing that I was. And now I had just become this person that has a problem. Back in Ghana, people that were close to me would say, oh, her thing has come again, her thing, right? And I started to wonder, like, why and what have I ever done to deserve this kind of a life? A life that, like for 2/3 of the year or so, I'm bleeding. I always have sanitary towels on. I've had accidents left, right, and center. There's like, I just wanted to just be like a normal person that just sits on the side, that doesn't draw attention to myself. And if I even had to, not that kind of embarrassing kind of attention, right? But I never could. I was losing my self-confidence. I wasn't myself. And outwardly, yes, I was laughing and bubbly and all of that, but inside, I was dying inside. And so I got to a point where I'd met this guy and I was so excited, and we travel a lot because he traveled. So yeah, he's part of the reason why I got to know quite a few countries in Europe, because we did quite a bit of traveling. The Germanys, the Hollands, oh yeah, Austria, and all of that. And this thing continued all the time. All the people that knew me well knew that I have this thing. I couldn't go anywhere without a bag with knickers and, sanitary towels and a change of clothes. And, you could just pick a bag, like have a little purse and be gone. No, I always have to have things on handy because I just don't know when it's going to be. And it always seemed to be the case that that time when something exciting was going to happen was exactly the time when I'd have this issue. It was affecting work. I could be off for a week, 2 weeks at a stretch because I just don't even have the energy to get out of bed. I was bleeding that much and passing huge clots. Like, I remember the one time I passed this clot, and afterwards I sat next to the toilet and looked at that thing for a good half an hour, asking myself, how did that thing manage to come out of me? How? Like, what is that? Right? And as the months, days, weeks, months, years started rolling by, it was starting to become apparent that this whole dream about, I want to be a mom, I'm going to get married, I'm going to have 2 kids, did not look like it was going to be an easy thing, or that it might even never happen. And the thought of that just, sent me down some downward spirals. So I'm keeping up this appearance and I'm so excited and all of that. Now, the partner that I had at the time that we do all this traveling and all of that with, we broke up, right? Eventually. And I couldn't just take it anymore. It was like, so what kind of a life is this? A life sentence? What is this? Right? And so I decided that I didn't want to be here anymore. This life sucks. If I'm in my 20s and I'm feeling this, what will happen in my 30s and 40s? What's the point? Right? And I sat down and thought well and hard about. I'm not stupid, guys, right? Not stupid. So I thought about it. And I figured that there's 4 of us. I'm the first one, yes, but who's really going to notice that I'm not here anymore? Doesn't really matter. All I've been to my parents is trouble. My other sisters, you won't even hear nothing about them. And by this time, I'd been under the knife a good 6, 7, 8 times, and I was done, right? So I thought, well, if I end things here quietly, maybe my parents will cry for 2 days, and they should be done with it. After all, I've just been a waste of space and just been problem. It's been one thing after the next anyway. So who cares, right? So I was living in the attic apartment of a 3-story building. And I'd researched a lot about what to do to end things when you don't want to be here anymore. I've told you guys I'm not stupid. So I looked at different things and decided which course of action was going to be the quickest one for me. So it was a Friday. I'd finished work. I'd given my whatever to all the people I'd worked. Have a lovely weekend and all of that. And then on the way home in Stratford, I went to Blockbuster Videos. Those of you who were there in the early 2000s, you probably remember Blockbuster Videos, right? I went in there. I rented a few movies that are funny that I liked. I've shared the story before, right? I hope I'm not scaring anybody here because you guys have all gone quiet, but I'm just sharing my story. And I got these DVDs, and what else did I get? Oh yeah, I went to Safeway. Yeah, there was a Safeway at that time, and I got a kitchen knife, a big one. And then let's see, what else did I get? Alcohol too, right? And every now and again, I'd have like a bottle of wine, But now it was serious business, so I got Baileys, which I would have sometimes. And on top of Baileys, I decided, no, I think I need to spice things up a bit more. I'd never had like hard liquor before. I decided, no, I need to take things up a notch. So I got a bottle of brandy for the first time in my life. Never bought it, nothing. But I got a bottle of brandy, and I knew that I could mix it in and it wasn't going to go all messy because, Bailey's has got a milky base. I don't like coffee, so coffee wasn't going to do it for me. I can't drink coffee. So it was Bailey's with brandy. Got that. Got a knife and a knife sharpener. My Blockbuster video. Oh, yes, and I got popcorn too. Yeah. And I was all set for the weekend. Got home and I lived alone, so who cares? Got into my apartment, dropped my clothes, put my clothes away, decided to walk around in my birthday suit. It's my apartment, right? So I do that a lot. I live alone, so who cares? Locked all my doors, birthday suit, and I started drinking, put the DVD in, started watching a movie, and I was having a good time. Really, truly. I was very happy at that time. Drinking popcorn, watching the movie, laughing and everything. And then the tears started because now I started to feel sorry for myself. I mean, what is this? Okay, so I drank and drank and drank and drank and drank some more. And at some point in the night, and don't ask me when, I passed out. Laying on the floor, on the carpet, I passed out. Can't remember anything for there's a good 4 or 5 hours that I couldn't account for. And then I woke up around about 3 or 4 in the morning. Everything is quiet, typical English weather. It's, it was nice. So I started throwing up. I threw up so much. Oh, at the end of it, my ribs, my sides, like everything was hurting. And then, so I sat there like one leg here, one leg there, the toilet in the middle, and my head was in it. And I was just, pouring in there. When whatever had to come out came out, I felt a bit better, but I had this banging headache. Finally managed to get myself off the floor, washed my face, cleaned my mouth, everything. Sat on the bed, and I'm like, I think this is it, right? So it's between 3 and 4 in the morning. I got this knife, I sharpened it, I prayed, I did everything that I felt I had to do because I didn't want to be here anymore. The one thing I didn't want to do was to write no letter to say whatever to anybody. I just didn't want to do none. I just wasn't here anymore. That's it. People will live with it, right? And just when I was just readying myself for this, who calls? My grandmother. Hey girl, how are you doing? I don't know. I just woke up this morning and the first person that came to my mind is you. Why are you awake at this sort of time? The knife kind of flew out of my hand because I was spooked. It's like, what the hell? Why did this woman have to call me at this time? Why? And she's the one person that I love so much. I could not pick up her call, right? Okay. So when I talked to her and that knife fell, I knew that I couldn't do what I had set out to do. She disrupted everything. So now I put the phone down and I sobbed for hours. Hours, like screaming my head off, crying. After 3 or 4 hours, people came and knocked on my door. I just didn't even feel like just respond. It was like, just leave me the heck alone, okay? And then I had an aunt, my mom's younger sister, who lived down south in Chelmsford. So I called her and I said, I had to report myself. This is what happened the night before, yada, yada. She's a nurse too. And then she said, pack a bag right now. I'm on this phone. If you hang up on me, I will call the police and I will get you sectioned. If you don't want to cause a scene, pack a bag right now. So she's on the phone and I packed the bag, took a shower. She was there the whole time. And then she said, go to the train station. At this point, I was just like a robot. I was just doing, right? So I got to the train station. She said, is there train driver there? I said, yes. Pass the phone to him. I need to speak to him. So I did. Was a lovely guy. They had a conversation. I don't know what she told him. But he said, keep an eye on this girl, whatever you do, and don't let her off the train until you get to somewhere in London. So he did. I was given a specific seat to sit in. I wasn't allowed to move anywhere else. 2 hours later, we're in London, and she came and got me, and she took me home. Monday morning, she called my office and said, Sika's not coming to work for at least a week, could be more. She's not well. I'm a nurse. I have the whatever they said. I couldn't be bothered. Hang up the phone. Now comes the this counseling, the talking to, the everything. And that's how I got out of that particular situation. Now, I'm not saying this because I want empathy, sympathy. I'm just saying this thing because I'm trying to create some kind of, no. These are not things that my own parents are privy to, right? So I know that some people are going to copy that and go send it to them. This is what your daughter is sitting on social media talking about. Anybody who does that is stupid, because you guys are supposed to be here to listen to my story and maybe have some empathy for people that are like me. This is not a pity party, right? This is not a thing that I'm doing so that people feel sorry for me at all. Far from that, right? So anyway, so that happened. And now people started to look at me in a very different light. Everybody was, kind of like wrapping me with this cotton wool thing as if I'm fragile and I'm going to break. And that even made me even more angry because I didn't need that, right? I didn't want that. And so ultimately, I had to quit my job. And I moved. I moved to a different company in a different city, and life went on from there. But at this time, in spite of everything that was happening, I was hurting inside. And sadly, a lot of people were not seeing the emotional side to things, right? So I'm on this pill, I'm off it, I'm on this medication, then I'm taking off, then this is not working. And then came the weight gain, because now I was at the point where I had to have injections every 3 months. I didn't even know what I was eating. And the weight was just piling on, piling on. Within 6 months, I went from a size 12, 14 to a massive 20 something. And that's when I was like, what? You know, my clothes don't fit. And I felt so bloated and so uncomfortable. And that just even put more pressure on this feeling inside. Like there was just something in there that nothing was touching. Continued to suffer in silence. By this time, I'm married. I was having all these issues, bleeding all the time. Like you can't even have intimate relations with your husband because every time there's just bleeding all the time. And, it was frustrating for him, and I understood that, right? But it was never hidden. The truth was always out there. I told him from the get-go, this is what you're signing up to. So understand that that is what you're signing up to. Don't look at this. This is what you're signing up to. This is going to be your life. Are you ready for this? Right? And a lot of people agree to things that they don't really know the ins and outs of, right? When you talk about these things, you go, period. What is period? Everybody has period. What is it, right? So anyway, long story short, I was in this marriage and still having this issue and couldn't just be like a normal marriage, right? And all these dreams about wanting to be a mom and having children were slowly just getting further and further and further away from me. And that just added to the sadness that I felt. And yet nobody was still seeing that. I was still able to mask it with laughing, with smiling, with everything, right? And carrying on and bearing the pain, the migraines, the excessive bleeding, the everything. Now they've given me different kinds of take this, for that. And now all of a sudden, I got to the point now where I guess my system was just so confused with whether it's going and coming. So I had a period of almost 2 years when there was just simply no bleeding. Now everything is stopped. No, nothing. No bleeding would sound exciting to a lot of you. Oh gosh. But I was still having everything else. The bleeding, the cramps, the pain, the bloatedness. I don't even know whether it was ovulation, but there were times, hot flashes. Like all of a sudden, I'll be covered in sweat and it feels so hot inside of me. It's almost as if I want to cut myself open so that whatever is there that is hot can come out and I can breathe. Is how I felt. And it was tough going, right? Everybody would think, hey, you've been bleeding so much and now, you're not having a period no more. You should be excited about this. I wasn't. I felt so bloated, like my feet, my legs, it was just like waterlogged. It felt that way. I was not comfortable. And believe you me, I will try anything. Anything. So now I'm into homeopathy and, like Chinese medicine and herbs and all of those things. Not to treat the problem, just to manage the symptoms because it was too much for me. I couldn't keep a job down, right? Every time it's something. And then you have to go here. And now you're having this test, this scan. Everything. And this wasn't the only issue I was dealing with health-wise, right? It's a major part of my life, but it wasn't the only part. So now I have all this osteoarthritis thing, and I have to have knee surgery. I have to have that surgery. And then in the mix somewhere, there was a tumor and it ended up being cancerous. It was like just a bit too much for me. Because don't forget, you can't isolate PCOS as a thing in a person's life without every other factor also coming in, right? So I have this main thing, and life is happening. Life is still happening, right? I lost a few people along the way, and like people I loved and in my family, they died, and all of this. And it was just all a bit much. Just when I thought that I was on the up and up, like, okay, I've had the surgery, leiomyosarcoma, blah, 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 had the surgery, all of that. Multiple ones. I'd had some kind of a DNC thing and whatever, and there was fibroids and they removed them. Just when I thought like my life was starting to take shape again. By this time also I was divorced, because this whole having children, all of that thing was a bit much for me. So let's just leave that one there. I was single once again. Okay. Just when I thought I was on the up and up with all of that, I had a loss in my home, a big one. A big one, and it was a suicide too. Now that just finished me off. It's like I can't do this no more. Can't get over this one. This one is a biggie. Can't do it. And it was at a time when there was a lot to celebrate. There was a wedding, and it was meant to be an exciting time and a happy time and all of that. And instead of being full of excitement, right in the middle of the excitement, there's this tragedy of a suicide in the house. So now I quickly have to still go through supporting whoever it was to the wedding, but also be sad at the same time, because now I have to go for this wedding. The people had paid for it. They were young people. And it wasn't fair on them that because that had happened, they couldn't go through with their wedding. There was just 4 days in between the tragedy and the wedding. So the wedding happened, and then I had to quickly gather up, pack up, go to England, leave England, go to the States, and everything was unraveling. Now, the reason why I bring this up is that when the news of the tragedy came, I hadn't had a period for a good 2 years. But on hearing the news, right there, like you stood there and somebody's giving you news that there's a tragedy, right there, just started oozing out, like oozing out of me. Everything. I was stood there and it was, coming out. When I say coming out, I don't mean like it's drop by drop. It was just flowing. And I was stood there and I didn't know what to do with myself. Like I just froze, right? And this thing is coming and it's coming and it's coming. And I'm tired and I'm crying and I'm screaming and it's coming, right? So now I need some emergency thing to make it stop, because that thing that I lost was not funny. And that's when this thing started again. It was there for a good 2 months from that day of the tragedy, for 2 months. So I'm going through wedding, mourning, crying, traveling, and I still had this thing. Yogurt became something that I really loved to eat. It was the only thing I could eat. Lactose-free yogurt became a very good friend of mine. I couldn't just eat much. So that's how I got through those times. But after that event, now I can't sleep, because all I could see was what happened. And that event that tragedy was what marked the turning point for me, owning up to the fact that there was a lot broken inside of me. And then that added onto it. I couldn't do it on my own anymore. Now, I'm saying all of this because there's always an emotional and psychological and mental aspect to polycystic ovaries, right? A lot of women have motherly instincts in them. Some people don't want to have children. There are people like that. I get it. But I wasn't one of them. I wanted to be a mom, right? And so now coming to a place where this being a mom is starting to be an illusion was tough for me. It's got nothing to do with pressure or anything, just me, myself. I wanted to be a mom, right? And so now, how do I come to terms with or accepting the fact that that may not happen? And even if it did, there's so much that I would have had to subject my body to. And was I ready to do that, right? So this tragedy has happened and everything is done. The funeral's over. Now I can't sleep. I was traumatized by what would have gone to somebody's mind to want to do that to themselves. And I had all these questions and I couldn't understand. I went from 6 hours to 3 hours to 2 hours. And when it got really bad, I was having half an hour sleep a night. And there was problem. No doctor in England was prepared to prescribe me sleeping tablet. I went to the doctor one time and I knelt down on the floor, literally begging him. I said, I'll give anything right now just to have one night's sleep. One night. Just sleep for one night. Mm-mm. We don't want you to have this thing. You can become addicted to it. And we don't want you to have this. So I went back to Ghana. And I knew that when I went there and I see somebody who understands what I've gone through, probably somebody will listen. Oh, hallelujah. Finally, somebody got me some. I took it. And I probably slept like for 2 days. Not even joking. I had a good sleep. And that was the beginning of change for me. When I got back, fighting this whole thing about counseling and, that African thing, counseling is a sign of weakness and, you don't need no help. You have to show that you're a strong person. Those who get counseling are weak. And, that was my mindset that at that time. This is going back 12 years now. But when I got back, I understood that I need help, right? So there was an organization in England, and it was a charity, which was called Despair After Suicide. And it was a lovely lady, Christine, bless her heart. And we would talk and talk and talk and talk some more. I never met her in person. It was all via the telephone. But this woman was available 24/7. Like when I'm sad, I can call her and I'll tell her why I'm sad and we could talk for hours. And everything was fine for a couple years because, she'd help me figure it out, put, like things in place, what to do when this happens and all of that. But we would still talk. Some days were still hard. And, like suicide just doesn't bring out death, but it brings out a lot of things about your own life that suck. So this whole thing about PCOS came into the mix too. And just when I thought that Oh, now I have a friend. When I get better and I've had all my surgeries and everything and I'm back on my feet, I'm going to travel to go meet Christine. Christine dies. That was in 2014, 13, can't remember, but she died. That sent me down another downward spiral. Why is it that everything that I meet or like either dies or leaves? Why? It's like all the work that I'd done the 2, 3 years prior was nothing. Back in the dumps again. And now, 34 and counting, right? I'm now going to be 35. There was something about 35, that age, that I just, even till today, can't understand what it was. But it made me so afraid. Like I was scared for the dial to go from 34 to 35. I don't understand. I don't know. But it was like 35 was this special thing. And so now I'm so upset. And for the life of me, now this bleeding thing is off and on. It comes sometimes, maybe twice a year. I'll have something, then I won't. But those things didn't even matter anymore, right? PCOS is kind of like it's taking a backstage. Now it's all about my emotions. And it went on and on and on and on and on some more. 35 happened. And I was so sad. Like, it's one birthday that I never want to remember. 30 was one, because that's when that tragedy happened. The 35 was another. Hated every time, every minute of every second of every time of that birthday. Hated it so much. But still, outwardly, I still have this facade and I would laugh and smile and everything. And people still think that, Seeker is good. Had mastered a lot of craft about how to hide how I felt, because unless you're going through what I'm going through, it doesn't really matter to you, right? Now I passed 35, and now every time that I went home to Ghana, I now also have to deal with, like those side people that's related to you who can't keep their gob closed, that feel that it's their business to come tell you how to live your life. Now I have to also deal with that too, on top of everything. And one thing that I thank God for every single day of my life is the family that I have. I don't think that I would have made anything this far without them. My dad, my mom, and my sisters, the three of them. Oof, awesome. Those 5 people, if nobody else cares about me, I don't care. If nobody else loves me, I don't care. But those 5 people, oof, especially the parents, especially the parents. Oh, gosh. Yeah, that's how I get through a lot of it, because like I don't have my parents and I never talk about you don't have a child. Like it's not part of our conversation, right? So I found it really painful that other people, right? Other people have made it their business to worry about what my parents, who should be worried, are not worried about, right? But every time we'd go to a family function, there's always that somebody who has to dig it in. Like you have a stab at it. And it's like a wound that you yourself, you're trying to manage your wound and put plaster on. People are now trying to pick in the wound and make it bleed some more. That was what I struggled with. And back home also, you're not allowed to be rude. So when people are picking at your wound, you're supposed to sit there and say, oh, pick it some more. I enjoy, pick it some more, right? It was hard. And now I started to hate going home. I love my family. I want to spend time with them. But every time there's a public function, I am the one that becomes the topic. You're the oldest one. Are you stupid? Can't you see that everybody, all your sisters are all, they've all got children. They're all married and la, la, la. And why are you not? Hard. Really hard. That. Right? And then I'll come back to England. And now I have to sit in my house by myself and kind of process that all over again on top of everything that I'm dealing with. Right? The long and short of what I'm saying here, before I let you guys go, is that PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, has a lot of dimensions to it. One of them, and the one that nobody sees, is the emotional impacts of that thing. For me now, at 41, I would tell you with everything that this thing has robbed me of my life. A lot of major decisions about my own life have had to center around this thing. How am I going to cope? What if this happens? There's certain jobs that I knew that I could never take on because of that. So it's a lot more far-reaching and deeper than people would make it out to be. It's not easy. It's hard. And if you don't have the support from people that feel what you feel, it's even harder, right? I see a lot of groups on social media about that thing. And the people that I know who have these problems that have joined, 8 to 9 times out of 10 have told me that they wish they never did. Because it almost becomes a place where people go to discuss. Like if you're in a PCOS group and it's a bunch of women who are struggling with fertility problems, it becomes long term, it becomes like a baby group. Because this one has a kid and they're popping it out there and, this is what I did. And I think that everybody who has this problem should do the same thing. PCOS treatment is not a one-size-fits-all condition. I have shared my story. I've talked about being childless. I've said it in different ways. Unfortunately, people never understand why I do what I do. I don't do this for popularity. I'm not doing this because I need somebody to feel sorry for me. I'm not here to seek empathy. I don't need that, right? I know who I am for me. The issue is that there are a lot of people who are like me, who don't have this big mouth that I have and the confidence that it takes to be here and telling you what I'm telling you. And so what keeps me going is to be the voice to the voiceless. And instead of people using this thing here to actually sit and analyze and think really critically about, why is this educated woman putting so much of herself out there? Why? People think, oh, she's just seeking attention. I remember a few months ago, I had a guy send me a message. We all know you don't have children. You don't have to keep reminding us that you don't have a child, and stop doing this. And I'm like, screw you, right? This is my page. This is me. This is my platform. I can talk about whatever I want to talk about, right? I created this page by myself. You don't have to be here. If you don't want to, get out, so that the people who want to hear what I'm saying can listen. And I blocked him one time. Right? Rami, we're talking about polycystic ovaries and living with that condition, darling. That's what we're talking about. So, guys, before I let you go, whoever it is that is suffering emotionally, psychologically, and mentally because of this issue and whatever else is going on in your life, because it can't be looked at in isolation. There's the PCOS thing that is affecting every other thing in your life. Seek help. There is no shame in owning up to the fact that you're struggling emotionally. You need to have controls and mechanisms in place so that you can cope with that beast that you have in your life, because it is a beast. It shows itself up in different ways. There are days when I wake up and I'm like, oh, I'm so full of life and, nothing can face me. There are other days that I wake up and I feel like a train wreck. It's like, what the. So it's hard. And it's a roller coaster ride. There are good days, there are bad days, there are whatever days in between. It's not easy. And for anyone who lives with a relative, a wife, a daughter, a sister, an aunt that has polycystic ovaries, you need to be so empathetic. You need to mind the things that you say. Right? You don't have to say everything that comes to your mouth or your mind. Right? Even the Bible talks about that. So many thoughts come to your mind, but you don't have to voice out everything that comes out of it. People that go through these things can't even make sense of why they're going through this issue. Right? People are trying to make sense of this, and it's not curable. Like medically, there's no cure for this thing. All you can do is manage your symptoms. It's a question of management. So when you know somebody who is, imagine like a 12-year-old. That was the age that I was when I had this issue. Imagine your 12-year-old having to carry the weight of this thing on their shoulders and still try to fight out there to have a place of recognition, be it with schooling, career, have a business, whatever children do. Having to be like growing from childhood to adulthood in itself is hard. It's hard work. Because all of a sudden you can't be this happy-go-lucky. Now, you have to put sanitary towels on. You have to deal with your emotions. You're angry one minute, you're not the other. You're trying to make sense of out of that. And then to have PCOS on top of that, it's hard. It's been hard for me. I cannot imagine how hard it will be for somebody who is 12 years old. It's tough. So please, have compassion. Like, African people just need to learn how to be compassionate. It's something that we lack, right? And we need to start becoming a people who are genuinely, from here, caring about people. Not everybody can be like you. Okay? Not everybody can be like you. So learn to have compassion and empathy for people. There are certain stupid questions that should never be asked, in my opinion. People just don't know how to have boundaries. People will see you. So, are you pregnant? What happened why is your tummy so big? Why? Is it any of your freaking business? My tummy being big or flat, what does that change in your life? You're not the one carrying the big belly, so how does it change anything to do with you, right? Why are you not married? That's another silly one. Don't use this thing. You're not using it, right? Why don't you have children? Everybody is having a child. Don't you also know that you also ought to have a child? You're stupid. You are. There's certain questions that you just never ask somebody. What does somebody being married change in your life? No, let's have this conversation. What does it change? What does somebody having a child or otherwise, what's in the grand scheme of things, what does it change for you? Nothing. So why are you asking? Right? Like people are dealing with things that they're trying to rationalize it for themselves. And for some people, that simple one question that you ask them in public is the reason why they're never able to go out again. Is it fair? Right? Not everybody has the resilience and the strength to be like me, to tell you back in your face. And having stepped out of that situation for years now I'm ready for everybody. If I go home again, I swear to God, and anybody asks me a dumb question like that, you will not like the answer you will get. I'm not going to keep quiet. I'm not going to shut up. I'm not sucking it up. This time I will come at you with everything. Right? Because I don't owe you anything. So why should I keep quiet? Right? But guys, we ought to become a people that are empathetic. Like, I've lived in the West now from away from home as an adult since 2004. July 2004 was when I left my parents' house to become me and live on my own. And I can tell you on good authority that I've never had any of my Caucasian friends ever ask me a dumb question like that before, ever. So why are you not pregnant? Why don't you have children? Can't you have a child? Why are you not married? It's none of your freaking business. Right? It's not even about asking people anyhow. Like, seriously, my sister Rami, what does my childlessness or having children change in your life? What does it change? How does it affect you? What does it do to you knowing that I have a child or I don't? What? If you want to have children, go have your children. But like, why do you want to know about me? That's the bit that I just cannot understand. I don't get it. Right? So if you choose to be a mom and you want to have children, have your children. Be happy with you. Do you. Leave me alone, right? We ought to be more empathetic. You know, especially when you're 35 and onwards and people are asking you why you're not married, as if marriage is the end all and be all. Unnecessary questions, including most of our journalists when granting interviews. Very stupid. I don't even think that half of the people who are journalists in Ghana are well trained. I think people just take microphone and call themselves journalists and start asking silly questions, if I'm honest. Because if you watch any interview from BBC to CNN to anything, there are people who know what they're doing. Before you interview somebody, you know everything about them. You've researched it already. There's certain silly questions you don't ask. People lack empathy and are quick to criticize. Like, my life is none of your freaking business. That's just the gospel truth. That's the point that I'm trying to make here. Right? I will never meet someone. So why are you not married? Why are you alone? Like, why? Why is that any of your business? Right? Why? The parents who made me, they never, like I've said, we never have that conversation. Why don't you have children? I think that you should try and have a child. Like, we don't talk about that. Can't I be your daughter just by being here? Can't I be your friend? Just, like, let's have a chat. Why? Why does it have to be? It's almost as if having a child and being a wife is what makes you you. And this is why we see all the things that we've seen this week on social media. We've made marriage the thing that makes a person have an identity. So when people are sat in a freaking relationship that is deadbeat, they have to stick to it in order to keep appearance. And the same people, when the people are dead, we're now screaming foul. Like, are you kidding me? You are part of the problem. You're part of the problem for asking silly questions like that, because you put a lot of pressure on the person. So whichever ant or mosquito is passing by, I better grab this one so that I can shut some people up. The people who really love me, people who really truly matter, never ask me silly questions like that. It's part of the reason why I choose to live where I live, because I'm not defined by being single. I'm not defined by not being a mom or not having children biologically. I'm just defined by me. What I'm capable of doing or not capable of doing. It's none of anybody's bloody business. And that's just the gospel truth. Let's just call a spade and say it as it is, right? Guys, it's come to that point where we ought to acquire knowledge, right? We want to learn a lot of Western culture as African people. It's almost as if we don't have an identity of our own. But in doing so, no, it's not anybody particularly that is getting me angry, Rami, darling. I'm not angry at anybody specifically. I'm just saying, as a person who has spent the last 30 years of my life with this condition, I know full well what it takes to even get up every day and have a sense of purpose, right? To keep you going. Especially when everything crying inside of you says you're fertile, and yet because of your makeup, the fact that you have high testosterone levels and all of that craziness, you can't do what you feel or you want to do, right? PCOS is a very debilitating illness. People only look at the physical things that people go through. The fact that you have excessive periods, you have facial hairs, you have a host of other issues. And I'm gonna try and find this picture, and I'll try to see if I can show you guys. You know, it's most unfortunate. Lordy. Okay. Do you know that this person here, I hope you guys can see, is a woman, right? She's come out publicly and said that she has PCOS, right? This is not a secret. Google it. It's there, right? This woman is a woman. She has PCOS. And she's faced a lot of, all kinds of things, right? That is her again. That is a woman that has PCOS, right? Can you imagine what she's been through? Can you imagine it? Right. So the point that I'm making here is that people just need to like back off and allow people to breathe, like have a life, right? Nobody chooses to be the way they are. You're born the way you're born, and that's it. So my having PCOS should not become something that I'm judged by. If you can't be my friend because I am not married and I don't have children, I don't want to know you. So bugger off, right? I don't like, you don't add or take anything away from me, so I don't want to know you. If who I am as a person isn't of interest to you, but the only thing that matters to you is whether I can produce children and I can be married, then you're not worth knowing. I hear you, darling. You've got to make yourself happy. But how many people are not downtrodden and so depressed and so upset to the point where they don't even know themselves anymore, right? How many people? I see so many people who can't come with their face like this. So they come to my inbox and say all kinds of things to me, both my personal profile and this particular place, a lot. So I'm saying that PCOS has a mental, emotional, psychological side to things. It's hard to wake up from one day to the next and not know what it's going to be. Sometimes you're having abdominal cramps for no reason, nothing. You don't even understand why. Then there's the hot flashes that makes you feel like ripping yourself from your face to your feet and opening yourself up so that the heat can come out and you can have your peace. It's hard. Next week, I think I want to wrap this up by talking about the side effects of this condition, treatment options that are available, but none of them is prescriptive for anybody. You do you and do what works best for you. I don't want to see nobody come in my inbox telling me how I should live my life. Please, I'm not stupid. Go try IVF. My sister did IVF and it worked. So you too, go do IVF. I am not stupid. Okay? I'm not stupid. Go and see Baba Isa, and he prayed for X person, and that person has now had triplets. I am not interested. I am not stupid. Okay? I am a scientist. I know about myself enough. I'm not stupid. So I'm not interested in no solutions. I'm not doing this because I need somebody to tell me what the solution to my problem is. I'm just a voice to the voiceless. And all I have to say today is if you've got nothing edifying, if you've got nothing uplifting, inspirational, motivational to say to somebody, learn to zip it. You don't have to talk all the time. You don't. And we also have to learn that sometimes when somebody is talking, they're not talking because they want you to say anything. They just want to be heard. Right? There's certain situations that don't demand you having to have. There are some people who have to have solution for everything. Right? Learn to just, like zip it sometimes. Just let people breathe. Even the Western people who sometimes support the children don't ask, when are you giving birth? They are silly questions. It's true, it is silly. Right? It is silly. Everyone has their destiny, and everyone has the right to make their own decisions towards their life. My brother got married last year. You should see how some of my family members are putting pressure on his wife for not having a child for him. Like, I can't think far. I cannot think far, And these are the things. And when somebody succumbs to all this pressure and is sitting in a marriage that is deadbeat, you are the same people who talk about it. We are the problem, We are. Learn to mind your business. Nothing is fixed in your life. Nothing is going great in your life. And yet you're spending your time worrying about somebody. Why don't you fix your own life first? Why? Fix your own life. Sort your own life out. I know somebody with six or eight children telling me how I should have a child. And he can't even afford to look after one of his own. I mean, like, seriously? And the only logical conclusion I can come to is because their life sucks. They're looking for company. Oh, you made a choice. Live, make your bed, you lie in it. You lie in your bed. Guys, PCOS is not as plain sailing as people think it is. It's hard work. And there are parts of it that is hidden and nobody sees. And that is the emotional side of things. It's not easy. There are days when I just cannot understand. There are days when I don't even feel like waking out of bed. There are days like that. Just want to just be in bed the whole day and just don't even want to talk to nobody. I just want to be left alone. I go through all of that. And I know a lot of people do too, right? So learn to be empathetic. Learn to mind your own business and do you and allow other people to do them too, right? That's the point that I wanted to make today about that condition. Next week, we'll wrap it all up. The side effects, the things that you can do for yourself to have better outcomes. Doesn't mean it's a cure. It just means that you have better control of managing your symptoms. And, you're able to better cope with your situation. I love you guys so much. You're awesome. You're fabulous. You're amazing. And everything that comes with it. Rami, God bless you for being here. My own brother Kwame, God bless you. God bless every single one of you that are here. Anna Gali, Georgina, Sister Alice, Abna Kusa, Mamia Joan Puma, all of you guys. I love you all. Doris, Asibi, Sister Shaila, Adjoa Dufie, Sister Nanama, all of you guys. Salima, I love you all, every single one of you. Anthea, you're awesome. God bless you all. Have a lovely, 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 lovely time. Stay beautiful, stay amazing, and please look after yourself. You're the only one that matters in this whole thing. Okay? Okay. I gotta go. Mwah. All right. See you later. Bye.